Awesome. Okay, we're going to move on now to a panel of folks who work for the U.S. government. And I believe Peter Meyer is going to be facilitating that panel. So I turn it over to you all.
Yes, hi. I'm Peter Meyer. I'm a government economist and a longtime wiki person. And for the next half hour, we're going to be jumping between 5 speakers, and I don't think any of us will be using slides. Our panelists are all administering internal government wiki sites. We have a monthly phone call and a government-wide email list amongst us. Tom O'Neill got that started. You're about to meet him. Our internal government group is called the Enterprise Media Wiki Community of Practice. And if anybody wants to participate in that, any government person wants to participate in that, please contact Tom or me. The reason to have a special panel on government is that there are special challenges and opportunities. It's sometimes been difficult to officially procure the software we want to use, or to get permission to run an approved, authorized multi-user computer system. Sometimes we can't get single sign-on to use, so it's hard to use the system. And then more substantively, stovepiping in government can be kind of extreme, where people don't know what's going on in the next office or in another agency that does the same thing. There's a fear of openness because we can get in trouble for exposing too much information. So a number of people are trained to think that there shouldn't be an open wiki system across the agency, or that if there is one, you should not use it. So the way I see it, we suffer a lot. But the people who succeed at this start by being pretty upbeat, and they have also been successful. So let me ask the panelists to introduce themselves. They get the joy of working on wikis. Okay, let me start with Tom O'Neill. Tom, please tell us where you are and about yourself and Powerpedia.
Yes, hello, my name is Tom O'Neill. I work for the U.S. Department of Energy, which is located in 30+ states, and we have, with feds and contractors, hundreds of thousands of employees. I oversee Powerpedia, which is our internal wiki using MediaWiki technology for more than 10 years. So, and as Peter mentioned, yeah, we have an internal group, and we're always of enthusiasts and people involved in MediaWiki, and we're always trying to encourage additional agencies who recognize and see the value of having such an internal wiki to join their group, and also join the ranks of MediaWiki users. We're definitely we're working with GSA to promote wiki even further in government. And so that's something we're gonna try to promote here in the near future. So.
Okay, Blanche? Blanche Ziv, can you hear me?
Thanks, I can hear you. Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone. I'm the deputy director. Can you hear me okay? Great. Well, everyone, I'm the Deputy Director of Digital Strategy Engagement at the International Trade Administration in the Department of Commerce. We're located in Washington, D.C., but my organization has field offices across the United States and presence in about 100 countries around the world. So in my current role, I'm responsible for executing a cohesive digital strategy and transformation plan for our organization. For this, I oversee the content management and delivery of external facing digital content for a recently launched website, trade.gov. But about 5 years ago, I led the launch and management of our organization's wiki called Wikita, because we are ITA, so Wikita. It's an online, we tout it as an online encyclopedia of administrative information that includes topics such as business processes, information technology, training, budget and finance, human resource information, business facilities and services, and detailed information about our staff and our organization. So that's an intro to our wiki.
Thank you.
Peter?
Thank you. Is Tom Harriman here? You've all met him before. He presented this morning. I don't see him. He's offline. Well, he's to be on this panel. When he's
Hi, Peter. I'm here.
Please, Tom, go ahead and just introduce yourself, where you are.
Okay, I'm Tom Harriman. I'm located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We have 5 different offices around the country: Washington, D.C., Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Texas, and Georgia. We are primarily training is what we're focused on in the agency right here. So I kind of oversee our Nuclepedia, or our internal wiki. And I think we just went over 110 days in service. So we're just scratching the itch to see what's going on.
Okay, and Daren Welsh, please tell us about your wiki.
Hi, everyone. So I work at NASA Johnson Space Center. Our wiki history started very low level, ground up as a grassroots kind of thing. A very small group of maybe 50-ish people sought out to do better with the knowledge management, and then it caught on and quickly grew. Now we are sharing information across directorates and potentially even across centers. You've heard from Rich Evans earlier today, and so that's an example of how we're growing. And I hope to continue the trend of sharing information and breaking down silo walls.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about how we get wiki editors started, or how we get a wiki started in an agency. I'll ask Blanche first. My impression was that people at your agency were new to wikis, and yet now you have 500 registered users. That seems unusual. Usually these things don't take off. And I remember you got an award from the Department of Commerce about that. Tell me how you did that.
Yeah, well, in ITA, generally our users are not super technical. They're trade analysts and economists. At the time at our rollout, there were a lot of frustration among staff who were not understanding many of the IT tools that were being rolled out at once, with not enough context or training. The other frustration we have was a big problem with staff spending a large amount of wasted time trying to figure out how to do simple administrative tasks. And then they would try to find who was in charge of what, and it was a lot of time wasted. So one of the things we did that was very successful was to get the wiki incorporated in the new employee onboarding. That included presenting information to new employees at the new employee orientation, and then we'd follow it up with personal individual welcome emails with links to the wiki to get them excited and engaged. And so far it's worked really well as for a number of reasons. The new employees, finally, they get to feel productive right away. They get to feel empowered to find and do things on their own. And they also get to contribute to the organization because it's very easy to learn how to do. We also created a manual table of contents page, which was another way to see what kind of content was on the wiki. Typically, people who were not used to wikis would get blown away when they'd see the growing number of topics that they could explore. It would give them ideas for new topics, and then they would figure out how to use it because we would train them, and it was a good promoter of getting it up. And I think the third way was that we would identify other problems and frustrations regarding information sharing or communication within the organization that the wiki would help with. So for example, we did an interim Facebook-like profiles and we have a lot of political appointees that come in with each administration. So a lot of them were frustrated with coming in and sitting down at a big group of table and not knowing who all the people they were sitting with. So we started these profiles and got it to where people were feeling left out if their profile was not on Wikita. So that was a good push too, of identifying problems and showing how solutions could be done on the wiki to benefit everybody.
Tom Harriman, I remember you were showing a nice kind of person page, user page with the standard format. Does that get people interested in being a participant?
So far it has. once they find out what we're trying to do with that particular person page by just creating an internal profile where people can find out who you are and what you're knowledgeable about, how you can share. And we provided links back to our internal stuff. It seems to be getting a grassroots efforts. But again, you know, we're 100 days in, so a lot to learn yet.
And Tom O'Neill, you had a giant 10th birthday party for Powerpedia, and you were giving awards to people. I guess that keeps them, people care about that, right?
Thank you. Yeah, we had a auditorium event at the 5th birthday celebration, and we had a number of supporters. We were fortunate to have Don Burke of Intellipedia fame help us get the wiki started. He spoke both at the 5th and the 10th celebration, and yeah, we had our CIO and we had awards, and we had Peter was one of our speakers as well. And yeah, so promotion, birthday gives us an excuse to promote the wiki. We try to do other promotions. We try to do newsletters. We are one of those that actually don't have Active Directory tie-in because we don't have we're so distributed. We don't have one single tenant. Not everybody's on the Outlook Exchange email either. So there's that's an ongoing issue, but so we actually use the MediaWiki login system, and so we know when people actively sign up for an account, and then we have a system in which we have a bot automatically sending them a welcome message or inviting them to training, and just whenever somebody takes the initiative to create the account, we try to loop them in and provide them resources as soon as possible, and really give them the tools they need to do what they need to do, and why they signed up. So,
Daren, do you find it easy or difficult to get people on board editing?
I think we've learned over the years it wasn't easy first, but I think there's a couple key factors. One, Yaron talked about it this morning, is making it easier for people that are unfamiliar with the software, how to actually contribute. And so page forms was a big hit. The other thing is working it into or building it into workflows as much as possible. So it's not additional work, it's just replacing work in a different way. And for us, that was meeting minutes. So we've actually put out an extension that standardizes the way meeting minutes are tracked in the wiki. And then per topic within a meeting, you can tag wiki pages as being related. And then on those pages, it'll automatically query for those meeting minute topics and show them in line down at the bottom in the footer. And so that way everybody goes to meetings, everybody takes minutes, and this way it helps them populate the wiki.
Integrated. Okay, good. I have a couple more questions. Tom Harriman, on your new wiki, you're using something that the others of us haven't used, which is this new platform from USA Learning, where a cloud offering for a wiki within your agency. Has it worked well, and do you think other agencies can do that?
The first answer is yes. What we currently have right now, we have a sandbox or a dev environment uploaded, and that's where we do all the precursor stuff before we move it out to production. So any updates and stuff all occur to that one. So they're actually running two different servers with two different versions of MediaWiki. One with the latest version and one with the couple versions out. So yeah, it's worked really well. I did speak to them a few days ago, and if anybody's interested and wants to reach out to me, I can share their information with you. They work across the government. That's what their purpose is within OPM. And so, yeah, I found it to be very cost effective and it seems to be working really well. This is their first one, so they're learning. So it's been a learning experience for everybody on both ends. So
Sometimes agencies are touchy about letting any other institution store their data, but in this case, it's been all right.
yeah, I mean, that's what they're designed for. That's what they're, you know, they have a organization that's all they're doing is they provide LMSs and storage space for a variety of different products across the government.
Learning management.
Correct.
Yes, I'm learning this. Okay. Did any of you see any change in user behavior or the content of the wiki in this sudden telework era? My impression from our earlier conversation is no, and we can make do with that. But as people have been asking at this conference, any change in behavior or content?
Not really from DOE.
Not really.
None here that I know of. The only thing I've noticed is that people are available to actually put more stuff in there than it's been in the past. So,
Well, then I wanted to ask about scope and scale. There's often an issue of how big a wiki should be. I wish there would be a federal government wide wiki where everybody could get to it. But I know there are other views on it, that an agency should have its own because its own terminology or its own things that it need to keep secret, or that somebody has a preference to keep things walled off. So I know you all have interesting comments on that. Let me start with Daren. Your group did a difficult combination of multiple wikis and brought them together. Did that work well? And do you have a view on what scale is appropriate?
Yeah, so we learned the hard way. We started off our wiki focused very narrowly in scope, and then as it grew, we added more and more wikis. We thought this a great thing, and then we realized that we were just making more silos. We were encouraging duplication, and so it was a lot of work. A lot of people had to think about it. We tried to automate some of it. I know James Montalvo, he was able to script some of the work, but ultimately it took a lot of us just manually going in. So that's why I really encourage people to try to start wikis at a broad level, and you can always tighten it down and kick people out. To try to merge stuff together is challenging. And so the approach that we are doing now is when someone asks us for a new wiki, we first push back on them and say, well, why can't you contribute to one of these existing wikis? Tell us why, prove that we're wrong. And of the existing wikis, we try to structure them based on kind of the legalities of it. So we have one wiki that is open to anyone that has a NASA login, and that is just for any kind of basic information. We have another set of wikis, one that's kind of our showcase, the International Space Station. It's basically if you are a US person and you have a NASA login and you have any kind of remotely related work to the International Space Station, then you're granted access. And it's understood that there's material in there that's under protection, like technical, and it's understood that you should have it reviewed before you release it to anyone that's not part of that. And then we have a few other ways that are very narrow in scope and locked down for other purposes. The one thing we're trying to figure out now is to have a wiki, we call it the Exploration Wiki, and it was actually created before Artemis came out as an announcement, and the concept was to have one wiki that covered all the different things that might come out from a lunar mission or whatever we end up doing. Well, now it's not just a matter of nationality, it's also a matter of making sure we don't allow someone access that might then help their company bid on a contract. So we have to consider which employees are firewalled and which are not, and be real careful about who we let into that one. And that goes against what I'm trying to share information as much as I can, but this adds another constraint. So we're having to figure that out.
Interesting. Any of the others want to comment on that issue? What scope would work? What scope should work?
When we met with Daren and stuff, when we went there, one of the big emphasis was if you could use just one wiki, stick there. And that's been our focus. We've had some conversation internally about using multiple ones, and it's been highly discouraged, and it's not even a discussion point at this particular point. So,
Yeah, we originally launched with a number of wikis, a wiki farm, and that seemed to be the preference at the time. And we've let the other, all but one other one die, and that other one I think at some point will. We're still maintaining the code, but I don't think content is being added significantly. Nothing like the main wiki. So
Not so much die as join the collective, right?
yes, yeah. Well, it's that one we actually do have Active Directory, and that is for a target audience.
Okay, is there anything else you wanted to make sure to be able to say while we're on the panel here? Because after this, we should take questions from the audience. Okay, then, are there any questions from the conference? I'll check the chat window. Let me know if I'm missing anything.
Rich has his hand up.
Please, Rich, go ahead.
Okay, hello. So thank you all for being for doing this government panel. I'm kicking myself for not having discovered you guys earlier, and high on my list of things to do later today is get plugged into your group. So my name is Rich Evans. I work at the NASA Glenn Research Center, and I have been using MediaWiki for 10 years or more, and have recently, in the past 2 or 3 years, been successful in getting my internal private wikis for NASA Glenn legitimized, passing through all the application security hoops, doing the single sign-on authentication, and working through all that. It's been quite a journey. And I too have faced the challenge between one or many. And I find myself flipping back and forth depending on the day. You know, some days I really just want everything to be in one wiki, and other days I certainly would love to see things segregated. My solution to this that I'm eager to work on this year is basically the wiki is private and it's controlled by SAML groups. I've been successful in getting my organization's LDAP Active Directory controls centrally what roles are assigned to authenticated users. And from that, if I can mine that, I've discovered how I can look in the LDAP directory, the enterprise NASA LDAP directory, find out what groups they belong to, which are managed externally to my application. And then I can automatically grant, I can authorize, I can perform authorization on a per user basis based on LDAP directories, which is a huge milestone for application or for access control. So that solves the problem of who's in and who's out and maintaining user lists. But the other thing that I'm eager to implement is whitelisting is having basically 3 namespaces. There's the main namespace, which is the normal private content. And then there's another namespace dedicated specifically to SBU. And then a third namespace dedicated specifically to whitelisted material. So within each wiki, there are those 3 namespaces. And so whitelisted, any content in the whitelisted namespace would be available to people who are not authorized as contributors. And what I'm hoping is possible is that that information can then be mined, can be queried across wikis. And so if I can semantically query from wiki A and get results from wiki B that are in the whitelisted, that are semantic data in the whitelisted pages, then I think I would be able to take information which is which the people in one private wiki would like to share, such as their operational status on any given day. That's a very benign piece of information. You're either open for business or not. They can control that on their private wiki, which means that the source of that information is definitively controlled in a private wiki, but then you control how it's leaked out, and you make it possible for an agency common wiki to aggregate all the public information from all the private ones. And so that's my strategy, and that's what I'm hoping to have implemented by the end of the calendar year. I would, has anybody had any successes going down a similar path? Or is this uncharted waters for everyone?
Intellipedia has multiple layers which can display together somehow. I haven't seen it done. SBU is a confidentiality or a privacy category, right? SBU
Who's that directed to?
Or something like that.
The namespaces.
Yeah. But my strategy is to not is to only train people on one. I mean, it has to be ridiculously simple for people to use it properly, and using namespace control seems to be the only straightforward way that I can think of that doesn't involve per page coding. Yeah. And it's literally where the page is located would define whether or not it has SBU banners, SBU headers and footers on it, or whether or not it is leakable to an agency common repository. And okay, so if anybody has thoughts on how to implement that, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I'm going to be working on this project, and if I'm accepted into the club, I'll be happy to provide status updates and descriptions of my approach.
I believe General Electric is working on a similar restricted namespace, or has it working?
Okay.
So,
Well, so I think Ike, if hopefully he's on and he's listening, when we were doing introductions this morning, I think I heard him made reference to introducing us to a new extension which would do access control on a per file or possibly per page basis, in which case I'm super excited about that. But my general approach is to treat the entire wiki as either you're in or you're out. And I sort of adopted that from my Johnson catalog colleagues, who said, security is very simple, right? Once you're in, you have access to pretty much anything in the wiki. Anything shy of that is a potential breach. So we can reliably control who has access to view the content, but once we grant them any access to view content in MediaWiki, you have to consider the whole site available to them. Is there any?
Yeah, let's come back to that in Create Camp. People.
Okay. Yes, please.
Are there any other questions for this panel or comments?
I think Bernard had a comment about the semantic external query lookup extension that might help your situation of being able to do semantic queries across multiple wikis. We put that in the chat.
Thank you, and I saw that on the EMWCon Spring 2020 page on MediaWiki.org, and that's a gem, so thank you.
Okay.